It seems like every single day for as long as I can remember, there's been some story on the news about two nations trying to tear each other apart for one reason or another. The one that you're probably all thinking about at the moment would be the ongoing conflict in the Gaza Strip, or maybe it's the war in Ukraine that's currently on your minds. One thing is for certain, is that it seems that we can't escape it. People fighting. Conflict. It'd be easy to think that we are just living in a particularly tumultuous and violent episode in our history. However, the truth is in fact the opposite. Comparatively to past centuries, we're living in a relatively peaceful and calm era. But if our world is so comparatively peaceful, then why do we see so much conflict? There's a saying in media, if it bleeds, it leads. And it means that when there's a story centering around bloodshed, it gains a lot of traction and popularity amongst the general populace. Now, this could also lead to, for example, when you see a title or a thumbnail depicting war, crime, or violence, people instantly click it. They're drawn to it. But what draws us to this? It leads into the question, is there something wrong with us? Why do we always seek out conflict? Why do we always want to see more? Is there something in our brains hardwired into us that makes this conflict irresistible? The short answer to that last question is in fact yes. There is a part of our brain that is devoted to, quite literally, identifying and saving us from any and all potential threats. That part is the amygdala. Now, what the amygdala does is that whenever you are in danger, whenever it senses danger around you, it instantly sends out stress hormones to your brain throughout your entire body, activating what is known as the fight or flight instinct. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but basically what it does is it transforms you into a superhuman, allowing you to deal with any and all obstacles in your way and escape death's grasp. With that in mind, I'd like to talk to you about where I feel conflict could have come from. So, conflict probably originated in a cave thousands of years ago, where one caveman, let's call him Peter, that's me, had a spear. And another caveman, let's call it Olivia, that is my younger sister, wanted it. And when the developed system of communication and discussion of the time broke down, she just hit me over the head with a spear and took it. That's how most of our disputes go. Thousands of years later, we still find ways to have conflict over seemingly nothing. The response that a gladiator would have had to fighting a lion in the Colosseum 2,000 years ago would be the same response that we would have today when our friends or family irritate us. Much like when Mr. Marr threatens violence on you because you will not stop talking in a RockEd speech. We like to think that we are bigger than our biology, that what is hardwired into our brains doesn't control us. But that's not the case. We want to think that we are pacifists at heart, anti-war, anti-violence, but our brain knows better. Everything is a threat to your survival, and it must be dealt with. Let's say that you are sitting down in your living room to watch TV, and you find out that your younger sibling, yes, that same younger sibling who just hit you over the head with a club because you had a spear, has had the audacity, the gall to have that same exact idea only 5 minutes before you. Beaten to the punch with the hopes of watching your favorite TV show, Breaking Bad, for the 9th time in a row, all but crushed in front of you, you could accept defeat and go back upstairs. But no, that would be too simple. Instead, you decide to attempt to steal the remote in a daring heist, Ocean 11 style, and the ongoing conflict that ensues makes Joseph Stalin look like a well-tempered man. We often create, even in history, conflicts from thin air, such as in the War of the Bucket in 1325, which was fought, you guessed it, over a bucket. The city-state of Medina decided to steal a prized bucket from the town of Bologna. I mean, I don't know about you, but it must have been a pretty lovely bucket for that to happen. So what draws us towards conflict? Why are we obsessed with it? Some people say that it goes back to those caveman roots that I mentioned earlier, where having a predisposition towards violence was actually beneficial to your survival, as the only way to deal with the competition for limited resources was through violence, as there's no room for diplomacy in a dog-eat-dog world. Now, this is strikingly similar to the race towards the pop-up canteen every single Friday at lunchtime for chicken fillet rolls. I swear, it is the only time I've ever been truly terrified of someone in a grey jumper. I'm going to wrap up this talk now in a minute. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Some of you are probably sitting there thinking, what on earth is this guy talking about? So let me wrap up my point. There's an inherent duality to conflict. It has cost lives historically in war and continues to do so to this day. But the fact that we have always been at conflict, at war in history, is the very reason that we are alive today. Our fight or flight reflex is the reason that we are alive today. It allowed us to run away at top speed from tigers. It would allow us to escape from enemy troops. But since now we are no longer stabbing each other with swords 24/7, it's essentially been left twiddling its proverbial thumbs. So it decides to spend its days so-called saving you from dastardly situations, like allowing you to beat the old lady in the supermarket to the last packet of eggs. I never claimed at one point to be a good person. So we often have all of these trivial or mundane exercises in our lives, like deadlines for school or work, and our brain treats those the exact same way that it would have treated an arrow flying at your head 300 years ago, which is the reason that we can feel so stressed, anxious, or worked up about such small, insignificant things in our lives. But in any and all case, we owe our lives to the amygdala. And for our little friend in our brain, we should be eternally grateful. For while there may not be a tiger chasing me, I can always count on it to help me cram for a biology exam that I have tomorrow. Thank you.